All right, we have a no heat call here today. It's supposed to be a Heil heat pump. We have not been to this house in the past. We're going to take a look at it now. Okay, so the customer says that he is quite sure the noise was coming out of the air handler. So we'll just take a look at this on the way by. See what it is. Old Heil ICP heat pump. So I'm going to assume we have a matching air handler. Yeah. So if he's hearing a bad noise, I'm going to assume it's the blower. Let's open it up and look before we turn it on. So looks like somebody put 1/4-inch screws in it. 3 out of the 4 anyway. And they're just kind of hanging. Yeah, those are just zip screws. So if we fix this thing, we'll get some screws back in it. Okay. It's a little stiff, but it does spin. And either this capacitor or the one before it, it looks like this one has lost some oil all over the place here. Boy, even the screws are rusted up there. So some of that white there is actual mold. Pretty nasty. Hate to be breathing that. And this is one of those old green coated. That didn't happen to it. These came this way, a few of them. I've seen a few of them that came that way and they would be green. But it looks like it just turned green from like electrolysis or whatever. And if that's the case, then it does it when they're relatively new, because I've seen them pretty new that had that green tint to them. But anyway, that's not an issue. Let's pull that cap off and check it before we even try to turn it on, because I can see all that oil coming out of it. Yuck. There's definitely leaking. I don't know that we're going to be able to read the value on this thing. Pretty sure nothing is going to be readable on it. And it looks like somebody's replaced the motor before, because it looks a lot newer. It's a little puffy. We're gonna have to try to see if we can read the motor. And that is probably going to involve pulling it out. I don't think I'm going to get this camera in there. Good enough to see anything on it. I doubt that did any good. We might have to just slide it forward some. Well, that was for nothing. Can't read anything other than enough to tell what we want to read is right under the band. So, without knowing that, we're not real comfortable what we put on it. I know somebody's replaced it. Here's the two wire nuts, or at least they pulled it out. Now I don't know if they, got an OEM style motor and replaced it where it could be plugged in. That motor just looks newer and cleaner than the rest of this whole system. All right, let's keep looking. All right, so the old one reads 8, which, tells me that is probably a 10. Just looking at it and looking at the motor, that's what I would guess. But the motor is also a little bit stiff. It spins. So I'm going to put a 10 on it and fire it up and read the amp draw and see what I think. I really don't want to pull it apart. This thing is not worth a lot, but we'll see what we can do. All right, let's see what happens here. These are all crusty and rusty, but maybe it'll bring it on. Yeah. Ooh, doesn't sound good. Yeah, I'd say we need a motor here. I thought it was a little bit stiff. Certainly it wasn't a 15. I can tell by the sound, and we don't need to look any further or read anything else. This thing's going to have a motor or a replacement, one of the two. So let's go talk to the customer. See what they think. All right, so they decided they wanted to go ahead and fix this thing. So I'm going to do it. And I'll tell you what, I didn't have the motor, so I brought this thing into the shop here because I didn't have exactly everything I needed with me. For one thing, I wanted to put it up on the table here, and I've used about a half a can of this carburetor cleaner. And it is a waste of time. I don't know if lacquer thinner or paint stripper or what would get this sticky stuff off from the capacitor leak. Good grief, that was bad. So, regardless, I'm going to try to get it apart. I have to take this blower wheel out there in the yard too. It is really bad, but how about that? now and then you catch a break, so it came right loose. That's good. So it slid down. Sure did. So maybe we'll catch a break. This thing will come apart easy. And we can find out finally what actual size it is. Couldn't even see the sticker to figure out the right capacitor or anything, but doesn't really matter. This motor is shot. Love it. I guess those could have stayed in there. Actually, it wouldn't even mattered. How about that? All right. Good deal. So, I don't like these square nuts that go on here. One thing about them is you can stick a screwdriver under them and they won't turn when you're tightening and loosening them. So, now we can see what motor this was. So, I'm gonna go over here in the parts room. 1075, 3-speed. So, it's a 1/3 horse, and it took junk. Go over here and get a motor for it. All right. Third horse, 3-speed here. While they're there. All right, and this housing is counterclockwise. And the counterclockwise has yellow and purple together. So that's how it comes. So it's ready to go for counterclockwise. And this one we want the wires facing that away. I don't think it's much going to matter how this is on there. So, got to walk over to my van and grab the other socket. So I'm going to do that now so I don't stand there and wrench my hand off trying to turn that bolt, that nut. Looks about right. Well, that nasty thing made a mess. This blower wheel. Yeah, we don't have any choice but to take that thing out. Clean it. It is caked up. The housing is not that bad, but the wheel itself is caked up as it gets. See in that thing or not, but it's caked up. So let's take it out here and hose it down. All right, so I can get it perfect, but I got all the big heavy loose dirt out of it. Say it's not perfect, but anyway. Gonna get this thing put back together and get it going. So, I am still in the middle of my years. I don't say it's been years, but it seems like I've been searching forever for a good service tech. Young fella, smart enough to run a business, experienced at service work, needs to be a premium service tech really. That wants to come in here and give me a handful of years here and eventually be a good candidate to take over the business. I've had a couple of them that I've talked to about it and tried to recruit, and I don't know, it just hasn't been successful as of yet. I don't know if maybe they don't believe that I will actually hand it over, but you know, if I had a good service tech come in here and work 5, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that at the most. Learn the business, learn how I do things to where they could keep the company top rated as it is. I could step aside, they could just pay me every month and have themselves quite a good living for themselves and their family. But I tell you what, it's been easier said than done to find that good candidate. It is apparently not as plentiful of a pool as I had always thought it would be. And I really do want to retire in the next handful of years. I don't really want to just sell the phone number, you know, and it'd be over. I worked hard for 30 years to get this company where it is. I started it in 1989. So, if you are a premium service tech with good people skills, and you are a smart young fella that thinks you could run the business, I would love to interview you and see if you're a good candidate for the job. Now this one is upflow. So the upflow, I've put the wheel in the center. You know, like I've said before, I always try to account for some motor wear. Like if it was mounted this way, I'd have the wheel a little bit high so that as it wore the bearings in and settled down, it wouldn't scrape. But this is an upflow machine. I put it dead in the center. I don't know how long this machine's going to last, but I still do them all the same way. Just, you know, just put it in there fairly decent. Now, I think I will use a different mount for the cap than this one. So this must have had one of those round, so somebody's bent it and stuck a longer screw in it, and it must have had a round one. So I'm gonna go dig through my brackets and get a good one and mount the cap, and we'll go put this thing back in. Okay, it takes a 5. So I've got this Trade Pro, hopefully made in USA, like it says. One of these brackets with the little notch in it. And they work pretty well. So we'll put that one on it with the 3 miles of wire they give you. And I'm not going to take the time to shorten it for a couple of reasons. One, I really like these ends with the, you know, it's already done. Save a minute. And number 2, I don't think this old unit's going to be here for as long as they might like it to. So, and they had a great big old long screw in that. And this one's got a tab. So we're going to have to drill a hole there right quick to make that work. Wrong bits. I'll be lined up here. Thought they would be. They're not. So now, I used a 1/4-inch screw to make that hole, but I just don't have what it takes to put 2 different size screws in this thing. If it ever gets worked on again, I don't want the next guy to say, what kind of dummy did this? And also forgot to put that groundwork in there. It's a whole lot easier just to stick it on there than to try to find another place for it. Tell you what, that daggone phone doesn't stop ringing. There we go. While I'm trying to do something, I don't know if I'm gonna have to just turn it off or what, but all I need is about 15 minutes here to get something done, and it has rang non-stop. I hate to see those wires fall down in there in the wheel. zapped. Now, we are just going to use the high speed. So we're gonna cut and cap off this blue and red. The yellow is the common. I'm gonna bunch all these together right here where they'll stay in one spot. So this blue and red will just get wire nuts on it, just get capped off. And then as you saw, we had yellow and black coming from the board or from the relay or whatever. And yes, I'm just going to wire nut them back on there. Not gonna get, overly wrapped up in the connection like we might on an outdoor unit or something. So this thing is ready to go back in. Double check that we crank this down good. And we did. Wheel's not even too bad warped. So let's take it back over there and reinstall it. And we will be ready to go. Right as I was walking out of here, I noticed how close this was to those blades. I believe I put this thing in upside down. I sure did, because you can see the tab marks from, yep, goes this way. Just falls right into place that way too. So, everybody makes a mistake now and then. I'm glad I saw it, because I usually reach on there and grab it by that to pick it up and carry it, and there was very little gap right there. And I said, what the heck did I do, man? All right, let's go. Okay, I've got it back in, and put some new screws in it, and I've got some new screws for this cabinet. So we should be ready to rock and roll here. And I guess we're waiting on the delay. I had the disconnect out, so it might take a minute. And no, I have no problem with wire nuts being inside of a unit. Not crazy about them outside, but in an outdoor unit, unless it's in the little compartment. But got no problem with this here. I don't see any reason they're gonna, I've seen people that'll wrap a half a roll of electrical tape around each one, stuff like that. And if I was worried about it, I would. Well, I didn't get that wheel super clean. got all the big heavy stuff off of it. Really would have been better to have gotten a new wheel. But it should come on any minute now. I guess we could take our jumper here. There it comes. All right, let's put the cabinet door on it. Take a look at the heat pump, make sure it's running. Go ahead and test all the functions for them. We'll go in the house and take some readings. Make sure they got heat. All right, so we put some actual cabinet screws back in it. Instead of those rusty little, whatever they were. And let's go make sure the heat pump's on. Go in and see what it's putting out. All right, so by the time I got everything latched up and cleaned up and picked up, the outdoor unit started up. And that line starting to get warm. It's not hot like it ought to be, but it's warm. Probably low on charge if I had to guess. I got a leak, so let's see if they want us to service it and put the gauges on it and see what else is going on. And while this here bird lets us know the wind's blowing. Not so sure I've ever seen that before. House divided, I guess. Got a gamecock on the front and a tiger on the back, or not sure what that means. Okay, so this fella here is real nice, and they don't want to spend any more money on it. It's back up and running, and they want to try to look towards getting them a new one, and I agree with it. I'll walk back here and shut his fence for him. But anyway, so we're not going to do anything further. It was working before, so it's back working now.